Welcome everybody out to our podcast, and this is probably going to be podcast number 440. And I'm here with Mr. Montero today. Brandon, can you say hi to everybody?
Hello, hello.
Your voice sounds wonderful as usual. That's hashtag no weirdness right there with no spaces. I was just saying that you got good audio quality there. So we're going to do something kind of interesting and fun today ahead of our Brandon's book, Elevating Construction Surveyors. Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well. What we're doing today is kind of a fun little thing. We are recording stories and concepts for the book Elevating Construction Surveyors that will then be transcribed, and we will turn most of these concepts into a draft edition of the book. And so we're going to do this and see how this works together as we're putting this podcast. If you have any desire to listen to it, go ahead. But this is something that we're just sharing as we go. But the book, somebody would say, well, why would you put it into a book if you share it on a podcast? Well, the answer is these concepts build out, and there will at least be twice as much content. It will be professionally edited, and a lot of people like to read, actually more than I thought, physical books, have them as a reference, and experience the audio once all of the information is fleshed out. The other thing is this is just a draft version of the book. So here we go. So this is what we're going to do, Brandon. I'm going to read what you wrote with your permission. As I'm reading that, I'd like to challenge you to think of a story, and then we're going to go section by section. Are you good to go with that, Brandon?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. So these are the steps on implementation. So I'll read it here. Step number 1, being a rodman technician. Opportunity to learn the most basic fundamentals, including the thought process of the crew lead. It may seem like the task load starts easy or has a focus on the manual labor components of the trade, but more than anything, it creates space to focus on when, how, and why the activities are happening around you, and appreciate the sequence and the logic in each step. And so this is tied back to being a rodman or a technician. So Brandon, what story do you have with that, even if it's a story based on your experience?
Yeah, this is an easy one for me. And I'm going to tell you a story about Joe. And actually, names have not been changed to protect the innocent, but it's such a basic name that I feel like I don't have to. When crews used to be a larger size, they would have a third position called a chainman. And Joe was a particular chainman, and I was in Washington State at the time. And we'd go out there and start cutting line out in the woods to do topographic survey. And that topographic survey would end up underlaying a civil design. They'd come and, grub the area of trees and undergrowth, and pretty soon there'd be a neighborhood there or something new. But Joe would cut line, and every 5 minutes you'd hear somebody say, "Joe, that way." Because he would stop looking around and he would just work. And his work was going in the wrong direction all the time. And it's because his head was down and he was working. And I felt like that was a pretty good example of being a rodman and having the opportunity to absorb the environment of surveyors, or to just get lost in the process of your work and not learn.
That's awesome. So so this is an opportunity. So from the story, what would be your challenge, or how could somebody use this position to overcome some of the things that you were talking about in the story, or to really benefit their career?
Well, really, I would apply this to any position and, a person at any point in their career. Of course, right now we're talking about rodmans or people at that survey technician level. Often it seems maybe like a manual labor position, like maybe you're just hammering nails and riding up lath or loading the truck. And so you think, well, I do all of the work and then someone else does the thinking portions, like operating the data collector or going over the work order. But more than anything, while you're in that position, you have the freedom to absorb the environment around you, to ask questions, to wonder why things are happening, to try and take that opportunity to look at the big picture of the tasks that are being carried out, and then continue to ask yourself, am I considering the big picture? Do I know what the big picture is? Or am I just out here working or moving or creating effort? But I don't know what the ultimate goal is.
I love that. That's fantastic. All right. So the quote that I came out of that section with is always absorb the environment around you and take the opportunity to learn. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Section number 2, loading materials and preparing for work. Preparing for work means you know what the work is. Ask for a copy of the work order. This will highlight which materials will be needed for the day, likely even how many of each. Don't be content to have everything dictated to you. Take initiative in thinking ahead. What needs might come up? How can I make sure we're prepared for every scenario? Which equipment types will be utilized? Are there sufficient batteries? Ensuring that the vehicle is clean, organized, and prepared goes a long way in the smooth operation of the crew once on site. Success of a crew can be made or broken at the materials preparation step. So, Brandon, what story do you have for us? I like this one.
This isn't a specific story because it happened so many times that I can recall. Crews would get out to a site. I've worked for companies that have done a lot of like remote GPS control for control networks, for city benchmark networks. And they get out to a site and that was hours away and realized that they didn't have fundamental parts of their task, like a car battery to power the GPS, or aerial panel targets, or enough aerial panel targets. The reason for that is really specific. They hadn't considered the task. They just did the general checklist of preparedness before they left, and it wasn't related to their task.
I don't like that happens, but I like that story. That kind of goes back to if I had an hour to cut down a tree, I'd spend 55 minutes sharpening the saw or the axe, right? We have to really pay attention to that preparation. So from a quote standpoint, what would you say? Preparing the work is what? Preparing for the work and the tasks.
Well, I like that very first sentence. I think it's pretty encompassing. Preparing for work means you know what the work is.
This is going really well. Okay, let's go to number. Oh, so did you? So how?
Yeah, I want to talk about this one. Don't leave yet.
How do you apply this? How do you apply this? What would you say from a concept standpoint, and then a challenge for us? Go ahead.
So this to me is where it starts. Instead of thinking about the Rodman role as a non-thinking or non-lead position, right? A labor type position. Ask for a copy of the work order right up front. That means you will understand the task. It's great to create like a state of general preparedness. You've got everything that you know exists in relation to this task because you've looked at what the task is. Maybe the work order says things like set 18 of such and such, or stake a curb along a particular area. Well, what are the typical things that go along with staking curb, and making sure that you have all of those in the vehicle, more so even than you feel like you might need. But a lot of persons at that level don't feel like it's their responsibility, or almost like they're overstepping their position to go and say, I need a copy of the work order as well. It's like the work order only exists between the registered surveyor or civil and the party chief or crew lead. But everyone on the team should know exactly what the task is, what could be better for the team. So asking for a copy of the work order so that you know the task, you know what's happening, you know why it's happening, and you're creating in your mind that big picture to work towards throughout the day.
I love that. Awesome. Okay, number 3, personal preparedness and choosing tools. Are you prepared to carry out the day's activities without multiple trips to the truck? Are you prepared for the what ifs common to your task? A versatile tool belt is best suited to meet your every need day by day, but a versatile tool belt takes constant thought. Compartments that allow you to swap out needs, major tools. The question is, could you carry constantly small peripherals like nails, targets, and reflective stickers? Do you refine your tool belt over time, streamlining it to your activities? Are there tools that could serve multiple purposes or tools easy enough to carry regularly to minimize unexpected trips to the truck? So here we go. What's your story? Or reflection. You can use the case study. You can either say story, reflection, or like a case study where you give somebody as an example. Go ahead.
Well, I'll give myself as an example first. I have been a surveyor since the late 90s, and I have been refining my tool belt all the way up until, well, I'd say I'd continue, but the latest refinement to it was probably about 2.5 months ago. So it's always changing to suit my task set best. And it's something that I would never stop doing because I want it to be suited to my tasks. There's a video on YouTube called The Lean Tool Belt, and it talks about making those modifications. I don't like to carry more than I need because if I'm overburdened, I won't carry it. But I do like to be prepared all the time. So in my tool belt or in my vest, I carry those things that make me prepared for lots of different scenarios in general. But I also swap those things out over time when I know I'll be working on particular tasks or in particular areas. My least favorite thing to hear is it's in the truck. It's the worst. Sometimes your truck might be on the other side of the site. Sometimes it might be down the hill. It might not be able to drive onto the site. You might be parked across the street in a trade partner area. So that's a huge hit to production. So really, being prepared is something that you could only do. Again, I'll go back to if you knew what the tasks were, if you knew what the big picture was, if you knew how many of things were going to happen, and you were considering those things instead of just kind of having that, well, here's the things that I normally use, here's what I normally do. And that's as far as I'm going to put thought into this process of preparedness.
I like that. So the quote that I drafted, please change it the way you want it. It's in the truck is one of the worst things a surveyor can hear from a rodman. Always refine your tool belt and tool organization to stay prepared at all times. Well, how would you change that? We can leave it where this is a
that.
Right.
I'll probably leave that. Maybe only adding, instead of adding to update those things based on
Update. Yeah.
Update those things based on your tasks.
Okay. I feel like I did something here. Oh,
yeah, I was there, then it disappeared.
yeah. Okay. There we go. Always update. Okay. All right. Let's go to number 4. Envisioning work orders. A work order doesn't just tell you what and how many. As you examine the work order, can you envision the smoothest order in which things need to be done? Can you gauge the current process in the life of the project? Do you remember if this task was done before? And you can consider billing as rework. Can you envision what obstacles or conflicts might arise as a facet of this task? Are there potential questions or options which may present themselves that you could discuss here at the office versus by phone from out in the field? Envisioning the process start to finish helps you complete the process smoothly when it is time to perform in the field. All right, take it away, Mr. Montero.
This is I'll take a story from my own personal history as well. When I was a party chief for a particular civil engineer, we had a folder in our area called the Hall of Shame. And we would put the worst work orders that we received in our Hall of Shame so that we could take them out and laugh at them later. And by the worst, I mean the work order gave you the least amount of possible information about your task and set you up for failure right from the get-go. You could look at it and it just wouldn't give you any ideas as far as what was happening, what you might need. Probably no map to tell you where it was. Maybe no job name or number on them. I remember some of them were on napkins. I remember that one of them that I recall was on a green piece of paper with a big grease stain in it. And you just have to ask how much effort went into something like this. But I guess where I'm going with that story is in envisioning a work order, you want to be able to look at what's required and think, well, what else is going to be needed? What's going to happen to have to carry this out? Like, what will be the progression of the steps that lead to the completion of this task? And really envisioning each step along the way that will make up the whole day until that task is completed. And that's something that I would say should be done beginning at that, again, at that Rodman level. What's your part going to be throughout the day? What kind of equipment might you need? Just as an example, if you were setting aerial targets, you're going to think, okay, well, I need X amount of paint. There's 10 targets. But you could also ask questions, well, what if some of them fall off the road? Are we painting the grass? Are we going to set, some sort of a vinyl target instead? What are the things that could come up? What challenges and obstacles might we meet? And what will each person be doing? So just thinking about what's really happening, not just the really straightforward, hey, this is your task, but envisioning how that task will be carried out step by step. Potential obstacles will really create a directive for you to make, what am I trying to say here? It will really allow you to be as capable as possible when you're carrying that task out. Number one, you've envisioned what you're going to do. You've put thought into it ahead of time, so you're ready. You've thought about those potential pitfalls, hangups, and obstacles. So you're creating some sort of a method to be ready for those things as well. And you're really just setting yourself up for success because that pre-thought has gone into everything you're going to do.
I love that. They're really paying us for our preparation and execution. They're not paying us for work and rework and having to go back to the office. I like that. So what would be your encouragement for, well, real quick, I wrote down, always ask what else will be needed. Accomplish the task in your mind in the office before you step foot on site. So we can modify that either quickly now or in the future. But my question to you is, what is the concept? How can you apply this? And what else would you want to challenge us with as we leave this topic?
The challenge is keeping your thought process turned on all the time as if it were your personal responsibility, right? Not to give up the concept of responsibility to the party chief or crew lead, even though they may feel that way ultimately. But if you take responsibility or create accountability to yourself, you'll put everything that you can into the preparedness of the task. You'll put everything that you can into planning it out in your mind before you go out there because you believe that it's up to you whether the task fails or succeeds. So that challenge would be not to just turn your mind off because you can, because there's someone else who believes that they're in charge or is taking charge, but to stay connected. How you can apply that, again, envisioning not just your part of the task, but the task of the other people on the crew. Again, going back to the potential obstacles that you might meet, really just planning that whole day out in your mind before you even leave the office. And to do that, you're going to need that copy of the work order and examine it thoroughly.
I love that. And we'll do these in segments of 5. So once we're done with this next one, I'll go ahead and cut it and we'll start the next one. So let's go ahead and move on to number 5. Learn to read plans. The plan set is often the only official set of information from which to build. It supersedes the work order, office calculations, CAD drawings, your data collector line work, and anything else. Looking through the plan set regularly, asking questions, and getting familiar with the way data is presented is crucial. The plan set is the source of the most pertinent of data, like your HZ and V datum, and details for each discipline will come together to build the final product. Get used to comparing task items, or what is that, Brandon? Task items discipline by discipline. Yeah, okay. Get used to comparing task items discipline by discipline, meaning architectural versus civil, architectural versus structural, etc. Spend time comparing what you have on your data collector or in your calls to what is shown on the plan set. Do you have the most current version, the most current data? Learn to take note of dates and revision blocks. Use the plan set to determine your current role in the big picture in the life of the project. Wow, that's really nice. What story would you have for us, Mr. Montero? Or reflection or case study?
Well, one reflection that I would have, or a story, was oftentimes we'll receive an AutoCAD drawing, and the AutoCAD drawing will typically include the line work that's found in the plan set. I remember a particular time when they differed from each other, and I sent an RFI asking, hey, these two things differ from each other, which is correct? And I got that response that the plan set is the official version. And then in the plan set, there were differences between, most directly architectural and structural dimensions. And so I went back to them and said, hey, I realize that the plan set is correct, but the plan set is disagreeing with itself. And then they spent some time away and came back with the final answer. And the final answer was what was contained in the CAD file. So what I'm saying with that story is, even though there are many sources of data, and even though one source of data is intended to be gospel, we have to get comfortable reading the plans thoroughly. We need to be able to recognize differences from discipline to discipline. We need to know which portions of the plan set pertain to our work, so that we're not just, for instance, I think this only pertains to the civil, but then something important in the architectural portion of the plan set would have had bearing on our work and we missed it. Or the landscape portion of the plan set showed totally different site lights than the ones that we staked out. And it turned out that, the landscape architect is the person that they would have given preference to ultimately. So you have to get familiar with the plan set, number one, know all of the disciplines, know which things pertain to your work, but also learning to read the plans means learning to look at the plans, understanding that they are imperfect, and looking for mistakes, looking for things that could be disproven, looking for math that can be back-checked or QC'd through some other method, and really getting familiar with what it is that you're seeing and reading there.
I love that. So we'll improve this quote here, but I wrote down, always read the plans thoroughly. We are contractually bound to the plan set. We either use or correct the plan set through that contractual avenue. And we're gonna have to improve the wording there, but we either use the information, or if it needs to be corrected, we make sure that that information gets corrected through that avenue. So how would you suggest, from an application or concept standpoint, what would you challenge us with on this concept?
Well, a challenge that I would give has become part of my personal practice, and that is to QC everything that you receive by others. I can't remember if I talk about this later. Mike, if I was going to put a lead quote on this one, in Indiana Jones and which one is it? The Last Crusade.
Yep.
At the beginning of the movie, he talks to the person that's commissioning him to go find these important people that are missing. One of them's his best friend, and one of them's his dad, in fact. And the person says, it's going to be dangerous. Don't trust anybody. And then that guy is the guy that ultimately stabs him in the back and, pulls the old double cross and everything. That plays in my head every time I receive a set of plans. I can't trust anything that I'm looking at. I have to know that I have QC'd it myself if it's going to make its way out to the field. A good example of that would be grid lines. Okay, I'm looking at the architectural grid lines. And let's say I've received a drawing of the architectural grid lines as well. That means that I need to do a distance inquiry on every single line, period, and make sure that it matches the architectural plan set and that the architectural plan set matches the structural plan set. If the grid lines have been placed in CAD, that means that I need to send an RFI saying, hey, I have these two grid line intersections, these coordinates in the civil drawing, is this correct? Or if they haven't been placed, then I need to reach out and create that RFI and make sure that the civil engineer has actually coordinated with the architect to say, this is where the building goes. I don't just believe things that are handed to me, whether it's an AutoCAD or in a plan set. I need to have some way to QC or verify that data. If I don't have that, I don't trust anybody.
I love that. Okay. Well, that concludes our first 5 sections. So let's do this on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.